Everyone, welcome to Chubby Tech. This video is going to show you how to install a subwoofer in a Mercedes CLK. I have the Harmon Kardon 7.1 Sound Edition, which has the fibre optic system, and therefore it's not very easy for most people. However, they contemplate doing a full sound upgrade, all door speakers, tweeters, etc. I believe that the system is very good with the 7.1, but the subwoofer itself wasn't good enough. So I just wanted to add a subwoofer, and this is going to show you how to add a subwoofer by just tapping into the existing system and adding just a lot more bass, obviously down to your levels. But I went ahead and installed this. I think this whole project cost me about £300 and I did it in about 4 hours. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll sort of talk over it as I explain the old DIY process. This here, as you can see in the boots, if you pull out this cushion lining, they're just held by these little plastic things that just sit on there. You just pop them out and then this is released. Now you can see that I've put my positive wire into this box. This lid just pops off. You just open it and it's just 2 terminals, and my ground wire is there, so right next to it, as you can see, positive, negative, and that's where I wired it up, because this negative is going to go just there where the amp is going to sit, and the positive will run around there as well and also come out there, and the amp's just going to sit literally on that parcel shelf. And if I just show you, this is the amp that I've got, Pioneer GM-D8701. It's a 1200 watt or 1600 watt, I can't remember now, but it's way more than enough for me, and it's just literally going to sit like that inside the box. So you can see how everything just runs from behind this panel straight to the amp. Okay, and that's the amp wiring part of it. So obviously I've got it all here, but I'll hide it all behind there. It's not going to interfere with the Cabriolet, the convertible soft top. So I'll show you where the blue wire runs, which is where I'm getting the audio from the old subwoofer. Not even touching any of this shelf equipment here. Don't need to open any of that, guys. And this will be a very easy one. So if you're wondering how the amp turns on, it's connected directly to the red cable which comes from the battery to the back. You're absolutely right. There is no signal wire to this amp. So the beauty of this amp is that it detects input and turns itself on. If there's no input, it doesn't turn on. So that's why I've had no trouble or no problem with it connecting directly to the battery cable. If I unplug the 2 RCA cables, the amp just turns off immediately. With this plastic cover back off, you literally just pull it off. These are the 2 little plastic clips I was telling you about. You put the screwdriver in the top, you take the little center bit out, and then the whole thing just plops off. So you take those 2 out, there's 2 here, these 2 plastic clips here, and then the whole thing just pulls apart, and that's when you see all the wiring. And as you can see, I've just brought it through the little gap there, and it's going to tuck away neatly behind the box I'm going to make. And this is what it'll look like with the parcel shelf back on, as though you never touched it. This is the subwoofer that I'll be installing, Rockford Fosgate Punch P3 10-inch. Now ignore this blue wire, this is just some cable I've just hooked up so I can work out measurements and stuff, and this is obviously very cheap RCA cable, that won't be the final product. What you need to know is the subwoofer. So this is a right-hand drive CLK with Harmon Kardon. The subwoofer in here fits in my palm. It's about 4 to 6 inches. It's really small. It's about probably the size of the center. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be putting this in the back to sit beside the amplifier. But what I want to show you is this is the subwoofer cable. This is the cable that I'll be tapping into, which will go from here to my amplifier. That's the speaker level input, the high level input. So it will, this subwoofer will still work, but if I don't like it, I will always then be able to disconnect it, though the cable will still be attached to this and still going to my amplifier for the main unit. So I'm going to test if I want both subwoofers to work together. The wires here, ignore that, because this goes into the back here and it's a plastic cover there. It's very tight. Instead, what I've done is just above here, you can push your hand through all the way, and that cable goes straight underneath that mechanism there with the convertible. I don't know how it's in the non-convertible models, but from there I just ran it behind all the mechanisms and underneath and to the amplifier, and that's where you saw the blue cable inside. So then it's just a matter of tucking this behind there, and that's how you'll run your speaker level from your existing subwoofer. Okay guys, this is where I've wired up everything. This is this subwoofer cable, this purple and brown. I've treated the brown as a negative and the purple as a positive. This goes into your Harmon Kardon subwoofer. This is where I've tapped in the subwoofer cable. This cable here basically just joins in the top of that plug and it sends a signal to the amp. Okay, so just remember that. That's where I've tapped in. This is the rear passenger side seat, and that's where my subwoofer cable is. That's where I've tapped into, and it just goes up here again behind this seat and into the boot where the amp and sub is. Okay, just so you know, I've wired the remote control through this seat here underneath this plastic panel, and if I continue to show you, so along the apologies for the sunny weather, along underneath this plastic seam, up this plastic, just basically tucked in behind it, in behind this little side bit, and there's my little gain controller. So just tucked away, and it just shuts in there, all nicely hidden, very easy. And that's how you wire up the remote control for the sub. Well everybody, this is the finished product. As you can see, I'm just going to tidy up these cables with some cable tie and then chuck them underneath and screw it on this side in the box, so it's just going to be held up onto the box so it doesn't wobble around. The subwoofer's there. I'm just going to screw that down as well now, but it's found its place. As you can see, quick bits of carpet on a box, and there's your CLK subwoofer now. In case you're wondering, I can still get suitcases in here. That is big enough for a suitcase if I'm going travelling, and it also doesn't touch this. This is not hindered and does not affect that. You might get the odd little wobble like that with the air, but it doesn't do anything. It's just a piece of flimsy film. The convertible doesn't touch it. This I measured at about, it was roughly 7 inches. The length was 36 inches that way, 7 inches this way, and about 4 inches at the back on top of the shelf, so it meets about halfway. But don't stick to those guidelines, every car is different. And that's it really. So I hope that was a very helpful tutorial on how to install a subwoofer in a CLK very easily without having to open up any door speakers. This is for the Harmon Kardon 7.1 edition. I've just added a more powerful subwoofer. If you like this video guys, I hope it helped. Please like and subscribe, show your support, thank you very much. So on a side note, I got this light and I just hooked it up to the little boot light, so when the boot opens the bigger light turns on. It's only held by double-sided tape, and the black and red wires just attached to the other light. Couldn't be bothered to hide it behind the plates, it's just sitting there on the side. So yeah, that's something I added whilst completing the box.